Hey guys, this is Adam, Ryan, we're with the engineering team. We're here to talk about spike kettles. We've got the OG, we've got the tank, and we're gonna talk about how they stack up against each other and how they compare to the competition. Let's dive right in. First and foremost, one of the main features of our kettle line is every single fitting is welded at spike. So we use sanitary TIG welding practice, which is done all over the commercial industry, and that means basically every single weld is back purged with argon. That means the weld is going to be perfect, both sides, no pitting, no places for bacteria to catch and grow. And kind of on the flip side, a lot of kettles out in the market, they're just going to punch a hole and give you this weld-less fitting where you basically have to take O-rings and seals and washers and tighten it perfect so that the O-ring doesn't squeeze out. A lot of times those leak over time. So, we just kind of got rid of that. We don't do that practice, and our welds are good for life.
And they're really clean and professional.
Yep.
Next up, let's talk about the thickness. One of the reasons why spike kettles can be a little bit more expensive than the competition is because they're made out of a thicker stainless steel. They're made out of 1.2 and 1.5 millimeter stainless steel, and depending on the size. Yep. And we did that on purpose to have a better, longer lasting kettle. So it's something you can pass on for generations.
Yep, more durable, more resistant to denting, welds better. Yep.
Definitely, 100%. And it's even clearer on like a sound test if you flick it. Yep. So if you flick a spike kettle versus the competition, you can kind of hear the difference.
Yep. While we're on the topic of stainless steel that's actually used to make these kettles, let's talk about what we chose to do and what kind of some of the other competitors do. So some of the cheaper, lower cost kettles out there, they're going to use 201 stainless, which it is technically stainless steel, but its corrosion protection properties, its strength properties are a lot lower. And so of course it's also cheaper. We use only 304 steel for our stainless steel for our kettles. The reason for this is pretty much the gold standard in commercial. It's very high corrosion properties, it welds great, it's super strong, it's gonna last forever.
It's what they use in professional breweries.
Yep, and we've learned over the years, we've seen where the failure points are, and we've seen that, material is kind of one area, you just don't skimp on that.
In order to be the best, you need to look the best. And that's why we at Spike decided to go with a polished finish on our kettles instead of the competition's brushed finish.
Yeah.
We believe it's a better, more professional, cleaner looking product, and personally, I think it looks really badass in my brewery at home.
So we're talking about some of the features on the outside. Let's go to the inside of the kettles now. One of the very first things you gotta do is be able to tell what's your volume. There's a few different ways to do it. We actually use an acid etch. We love the acid etch because it's permanent, it's easy to read, it wipes down really clean. Some of the other options, some companies will stamp that gauge in and, harder to clean, harder to see. Some guys use a sight glass and, that's a lot of extra parts, extra cost. It's tough to clean. Sometimes it'll leak. We actually used to use that in the past and we went away from that one pretty quickly. And so we feel pretty good about that acid etch. It's gonna last forever.
Since we're talking about the inside of the kettle, let's continue talking about the inside of the kettle. The spike kettles, specifically the OG kettle, has a step bottom, which allows for the false bottom to sit perfectly flat on it and creates a nice seal to prevent the grain from going through the false bottom.
Yeah, you just kind of drop it in and that's all you gotta do.
Yeah, it fits really, really good. Unlike the competition, some of them have just like a flat bottom, which you need an O-ring or something around that false bottom to create a good seal. Also, another benefit is when you're transferring from your boil kettle to your fermenter, it kind of acts as a low spot for your hop and protein tube so it doesn't really, that stuff doesn't go into your kettle fermenter.
Yep. Okay, so these things are built like a freaking tank. How are you gonna lift them, right? Let's talk about handles. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Pretty much all the kettles on the market have got they're kind of riveted on. Honestly, we used to do it this way too, and we quickly learned that that's a pretty big failure point. Over time, the rivets, we've seen that they'll break, they'll leak, they'll loosen up, and so that's why all spike kettles, whether it's the OG or the tank, They are welded on. They are never going to come off. You can lift a completely full kettle. Not sure that you'd want to, but those handles are going to be good for life.
They look nice and clean.
Yeah.
Everything we do is about looking nice and clean. Since we're on the topic of robustness, let's talk about the Tri-Clad bottom of our OG kettle. So the Tri-Clad bottom means that there's a stainless steel disc followed by an aluminum disc followed by a stainless steel kettle wall. Now the aluminum disc allows for a higher transfer of heat from a propane burner, but also an evenly distributed heat.
And then the stainless steel layer on the bottom allows you to use an induction heater, which can be really nice in your basement where you don't want to use propane, obviously. Gives just like a really nice, even machined surface that lies perfectly flat on the burner. So, it's a real nice platform to work off of.
Exactly.
Last but not least, let's talk about the lip at the top of the kettle, right? Brewing's a messy hobby. You get a hot break and kind of boils over. That's pretty much a place where gunk can get trapped. And, a lot of our competition, they'll kind of fully roll that lip over, but there's a tiny gap and the gunk gets in there. And we roll our lip halfway, so there's a gap there that you can get in there and clean it out, and it also doesn't trap all the gunk like the other versions will.
Yeah, and the lip is featured on our OG kettle and our tank kettle. So you'll be able to clean it no matter which kettle you get. Adam, let's talk about these two kettle lines.
Yes, definitely. So we've talked a lot about kind of individual kettle features. We've got the kettle OG right here, flat bottom. We've been selling this for about 10 years. We have here the spike tank. Kind of the big thing about this one is that rounded bottom drain. Takes a lot of the commercial features down to the home brewer level, and we feel real strong that this is one of the most innovative kettle products out on the market today and will be for a long time to come. And this is gonna pretty much become your forever kettle.
Let's compare and contrast these two. Let's dive in.
Yeah, so first and foremost, the biggest difference is that bottom, right?
This bottom?
That bottom.
That bottom.
So obviously on the OG, we've got the Tri-Clad flat bottom. That's pretty much standard. A lot of people do that.
Nice step on that bottom too.
Absolutely. But kind of the big game changer here with the tank is that domed bottom. So the key point there is it recirculates, easier to clean, drains everything. Pretty much
more professional.
Yep, levels up your home brewing hobby.
What's the big difference between these two bottoms?
Obviously, the shape of it.
It's true. One is a step bottom, which you have to dump, pour over to completely empty.
Yep. This one pretty much just drains completely. All you got to do is pretty much bolt it in place and
open this valve.
Does all the work for you.
Well, we talked about the bottom. Let's talk about what connects to the bottom. These splayed legs.
Yep.
So the splayed legs, they add a wider footprint, so it's a little bit more stable. And then attached to these splayed legs, leveling feet. So if you have an uneven brewing surface, you can level that bad boy out and don't have to worry about tipping over.
Yep. And you can even screw some casters in there.
Yes.
So you got one of those bigger kettles, you want to put it on the ground, it's pretty heavy, you want to move it around, easy peasy.
So convenient.
If you're setting this up as a mash tun, you're going to be using a false bottom. Between the two kettles, the false bottoms are pretty similar. For the OG, it's got a kind of pickup tube with a hole in the center. On the spike tank, there is no hole, so you're pretty much picking up from the bottom through the bottom drain and recirculating there. It's got kind of two levels of filtration, the main plate and then also a perforated stand to prevent grain from getting through.
In both kettles, the false bottom is going to sit flat. Like we talked about earlier, on the OG, the false bottom is going to sit on that step lip, and on the tank here, it's going to sit on the bottom dome, which is going to be supported by the ring stand. So you really don't have to worry about anything getting through.
Yeah, and you can put a lot of weight on that because that ring stand's really going to bear that weight.
So like we talked about earlier on the OG, we can heat it 3 different ways. You got electric, propane, induction.
Yep, thanks to that Tri-Clad bottom.
Oh yeah, that's good stuff. But on the tank, we can only use electric.
Yep, designed for that ripple element to go inside.
Yes, and also kids, don't use propane on this. Yep. It will not work. It probably won't even fit, so that should be your first sign. Your second sign is gonna be the smell of melting plastic and rubber. Yep. Don't do it.
One of the biggest game changers with the spike tank is the fact that you can now clean a hell of a lot easier, right? We all hate cleaning after we're done. We just want to drink our beer. The spike tank with that dome bottom, it allows you to use CIP, which is clean in place. We're used to it on our fermenters. You can do the same thing here. So pretty much you just drain all the gunk out using the bottom piping. Then you insert a CIP ball. See here, we've got a special lid for it. Throw in some hot water, some brewery wash, pretty much run it for about 5 minutes with your new spike flow, and you come back and it's sparkly clean.
Just talked about cleaning in place. We all know how it sucks.
Yep.
But when a mash tun is filled with grain, that also sucks to get all that grain out. Imagine a 50-gallon kettle with a Russian Imperial Stout. That's a huge grain bill.
Yep.
Imagine scooping that out. So there's got to be a better way.
Mash tun door?
Holy shnikes! Where did this come from?
It's that mash tun door we were talking about.
Oh, I'll be.
See?
That's pretty nice. What can you tell me about this mash tun door, Adam?
Well, it's pretty self-explanatory. This is coming down from our experience with nanos, and this is what all the commercial brewers do. You've got, 50, 75, 80 pounds worth of grain you got to get out of this thing. This is the way to do it. Even on the smaller kettles, this makes it a heck of a lot easier to get the grain out than picking up, your 15, 20, 30 gallon flat kettle and tipping it over and dumping it into a bucket or the garbage. This pretty much makes it, you can just scoop it right out and then go right to your CIP process.
Oh yeah, good point. And don't forget, there's a grain chute that goes with this to make cleaning even easier.
Yep.
Well, Adam, I think that about does it.
Yeah, I think, if there's anything that this video hasn't answered for you, head on over to our website. We've got loads more information to help you figure out which is the right kettle for your home brewing setup.
Yeah, and if you can't find it on the website, make sure to reach out to our customer experience team. They are very knowledgeable and are here to help you.
Yep, well, we're out of here. See you later.
Bye-bye.